brothers and sisters. I'm so glad I'm back after a whole year, but I'm back and I'm going nowhere. And I'm really sorry I really haven't done more videos like I promised, because I had a lot of things, personal things I had to take care of. I am exceptionally grateful for those who pushed me. Thank you for all you guys who put in comments and taught me so much. Thank you so much for Maria who pushed me, Nasia Shaval, Omoshango, Abakumpa Bayahudi, Victor. I'm really grateful for y'all. So I'm back again and I'm here to stay. Now, today we're going to discuss about one of the most prolific lines Jesus said before he died. The last words Jesus said before he died. Now, what words would those be? ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI. Now, these words are not only important because they're Jesus' last words, but they carry a special invocation that Jesus had released upon the earth. Now, the Bible translates ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI as my God, why hast thou forsaken me? One of those believers and scholars who believe that ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI is definitely a disjointed and probably loose meaning. And I will use at least about 6 languages to help you see that, using cognates and co-vocabulary as well as etymology and their relationships. Now, Jesus' last words, ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI, are not only important because they were the last words he released upon the earth before he died, but they're also, I believe, to me as a scholar, I believe that Jesus' last words may actually point towards or open the door for us to be able to have a glimpse into what the universal proto-prebabel language sounded like, or what it was like by counter-theorized. I will provide, based on the last line that Jesus said, I will provide the meanings in 5 languages. 3 of the languages are my own research, which is I'll provide that in Ekegusii, I'll provide that in Swahili, and lastly, I will provide the last meaning in Hebrew, what I believe is my revised Hebrew meaning, what I really believe Jesus was saying. Out of the 5 languages that I do give, I will provide 3 meanings in 3 different languages, and then I do have 2 other languages that are by fellow YouTubers of the meaning of what ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI means in their languages. Now, the first language I'll provide is, of course, Ekegusii, because I speak Ekegusii. I'm a native speaker of the Ekegusii language. And then Swahili, of course, I'm a native speaker as well. And then I do have the 3rd language will be Hebrew, what I consider my revised Hebrew meaning using Bantu languages, as well as Hebrew, and the cognates. Now, then we do have another YouTuber, Johnny John. She does have the meaning of ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI and what it means in XHOSA. And I believe she does say it means this is for the Sabbath keepers. And then we do have a 5th scholar that I believe is Vilambi. I'm not sure if this is the same person who does the YouTube video and discusses the fact that Jesus' last words were spoken in TAMIl, because TAMIl does have roots in Aramaic. So he does believe that Jesus did speak Aramaic, and I want to say that he can find the roots in the Tamil language, and that's Vilambi. I'll put links down there at the bottom. Now, if we counter-theorize, so based on what I studied, and using other fellow YouTubers' works, okay, using Johnny John and Vilambi, I come up with 5 languages. They are basically cognates of the same words, ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI, but cognates in different languages. But when you study this cognates, at the end of the day, what you find is it's an accent. It's just a similarity, a similarity or dissimilarity in the accent. So can we then theorize that the Most High, during Nimrod's time, one of the methods that he actually employed in confusing language, and we don't know if he did that instantaneously or if he did that as an evolutionary method, but I argue that one of the most predominant predominant methods the Most High used to confuse languages was accents, right? And the second, I do believe, was Pig Latin. Now, I don't really believe that. Now, I'm not professing to say that I know all the methods the Most High used to distort languages. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I may have we may have a glimpse of some of the methods that the Most High used. Just using Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani, we can actually twist it almost like a code, like a codex, and turn it around like that, you know, and turn it around using accents. Okay, so I do feel that the Most High employed, number one, accents to confuse the languages, and then two, Pig Latin to confuse the language. Those are two methods that I highly believe that the Most High employed in confusing language. I do believe that the Most High may have used matrices and other mathematical methods to switch up the languages. That's why in one of my past videos that I discussed about, called My Problem with Some Afrocentric Scholars, I put forth my theory using the Bible as a historical document, and I do believe the Bible is a historical document. And so in my videos, I theorize using a Rubik's Cube. You know, this is how I view languages from a visual perspective. I use the example of a Rubik's Cube. I call that the Rubik's syndesmotic theory. Why? So, because I view the world, I see the world from a visual perspective as a Rubik's Cube. Now, while a Rubik's is a game, it's also very mathematical in its concept. For you to be able to organize and disorganize the colors, you have to use, you know, sometimes mathematical perception, right? Okay, now, this is an example of a Rubik's Cube. It's not your traditional Rubik's Cube, but I don't know if you guys can see that. And there you go. There you go, the different colors. That's blue. I think that's green, I want to say. Yep. And that here is pink, I want to say. Yep. Pink. Okay, now, what I believe, let's say now, if you have a theory and you're trying to form a theory, I'm going to use this Rubik's as an example. Okay, I view the universal pre-Babel language as a unit cube, okay, like that, a cuboid, okay. Why? Because a cuboid, depending on how you look at it, the world can either be a circle or a square, right? Now, let's use this hypothetically to represent languages, the different languages in the world. Now, I'm sorry, not languages yet. Now, in this sense, the different corners of the earth, the four corners of the earth. Now, the Bible is highly aware that way before language, the Bible was highly aware of color. Now, when God says that created, when God says the two people he first created was who? Adam and Eve. What I find fascinating about the creation story is that it talks about Adam. Adam meaning red man. His flesh, meaning his face flashed red. Okay, they actually talk about Adam's phenotype, meaning he was a red man, red-skinned man. Okay, now when they talk about Eve and they call her life, they don't talk about her phenotype. Now, think about ancient language. Ancient language does not talk about, sometimes being that it's high context, the meaning is not found in what it talks about, like the English language. It's not denotative, it's connotative. Now, why would they talk about Adam's phenotype and not talk about Eve's phenotype? Why? Because Eve was what would be considered the norm. Okay? Now, so the Bible was highly aware of race way before language became separate. So now, let's assume that God used, if he did it instantaneously or if he did it evolutionarily, let's say he started first with the concept of accents to confuse the people. Now, let's say all this represents different colors of people around the earth, different corners of the earth. And then God gets mad and decides, okay, you know what? I'm going to confuse the language. How do you think the first way you can confuse language? I'm sure he may have employed others, but we just theorize. First method I'm going to use is to what? Distort the language using accent. Okay, what do? I switch up the language around. See that? fundamentally. Now, why is it not working? Now, what do? You take this, you don't switch up the region, but you switch up the language, okay? So that this green people here can no longer identify an in tongue with this, okay? Then you decide, okay, so I'm gonna take that now, see the colors? I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna do this, okay? And I'm gonna switch up that accent and make it like that, okay? Fundamentally, okay? Now look at the colors. It's getting all mixed up. Then he decides, well, I'm gonna probably employ another method. Let's see. Pig Latin. See that? And maybe I'm gonna use some more Pig Latin. Okay? Then maybe now mixing up, I don't know, the sentences and structures all around. And he mixes it up, and he mixes it up, and he says, you guys will never be able to understand each other again. I'm mad because I'm God, and y'all will never understand that language again, and you will never rebel against me. Well, guess what? You have different accents, different people, different colors. Do you see that? Then you produce tribes. Now, tribes are produced just from a simple rubrics like that. Now, remember, as I'm just shifting it like that, I'm just simply shifting it like that, but there are mathematical conceptions and perceptions that you have to do to be able to switch this back. Now, do I believe that we can possibly have a glimpse of what, or know what the pre-Babel language sounded like? Yeah. You know, the best way to hide something is in plain sight. Now, but the question is, will the Most High let us do it again? I wonder. But I do believe that we can come close to theorizing what the universal pre-Babel language was like using root languages. And many studies have found that the Hebrew language might be the language that some scholars believe that the Hebrew language is, you know, the proto-prebabel language. Okay, so it's not only me. So I'm one of those people of the school of thought that believe that there was a pre-Babel universal language. Now, because I'm going to produce ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI in 3 languages, then plus using the work of 2 other YouTubers, 5 languages. But what really, when you look at the word and the structure, I will put the sentences up in my screen. What you study when you find out is that really it's the accents that vary first. Okay, so as I do believe that the words ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI can give us insight or a glimpse into what the pre-Babel proto-language looked like. Okay, so today we're going to discuss one of the most controversial, or should I say one of the most discussed lines in the Bible, and that would be the last line that Jesus said before he died. And what line would that be? ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI, or ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI. Now, there have been other Bantu speakers who correlate the Bantu language with the Hebrew, just like me. However, I'm taking on a different path in the sense that I will use various languages, and I will use it, of course, first I'll use the Ekegusii tribe, of course, and then followed by the TAMIl, and then Yoruba, and then XHOSA, and then we'll have bits of the Zulu language as well, and Tagalog. So, being that there are also other speakers who believe that the African Bantu language is a Hebrew language or is a Hebrew culture, I'll speak about all these languages, being that I'm an ardent believer that, you know, world languages were once one language, one culture, and because of what Lema did, the Lord separated the languages. But as we discuss ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI, we have to pay in mind, you know, I had one set of speakers say that the Hebrew language, each letter will contain 7 different meanings to it. Why? Merely because I feel that the Hebrew language is exactly like Bantu languages. It's a high context language. So in as much as I'm trying to reduce this in this microwave society, I'm trying to cut it, it's It's sort of difficult, to be honest, but I'm trying real hard, given that, based on this presentation, I have 30 slides because I have to explain how each word was formed. So I'll start with, of course, Eli, the two, of course, I'll discuss them as one, Eli, and then I'll discuss Lama, and then I'll discuss Saba, and then Tan. So five, okay. So, and when I divide Sabachthani into three, it's because Sabachthani is definitely an agglutination of, Sabachthani is an agglutination of three words, I believe. For me, when studying language, it's easier for me to break it down first and look at the character of the language. Now, the Hebrew language is a very symbolic language. Now, as we discuss Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani, I'm going to read from the verses, Matthew 27:49 to 54, and I'll read it step by step. But even as I read it, try and form images or symbols in your mind, and so that when I start to explain, the image and the words can connect, okay? So I'll start from the death of Jesus and the events thereof. The death of Jesus and its events thereof. So Matthew 27:49 to 54. Now from the 6th hour, there was darkness all over the land unto the 9th hour. So you see that the first image that you have to develop is that there was darkness on the 6th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, say, this man called for Elias, Elia or Eliyahu, depending on what version you have. And Jesus, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. Okay, so up to there so far, being that they give you the translation of what Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? To be honest, I am one of the few believers who believe that Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani actually means, my God, why have you forsaken me? I do feel that, you know how translators can translate something, and one will translate to very high quality language and the other will translate to very loose, like disjointed, or a very loose meaning. For me, I believe this is a very loose meaning of what Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani means, and I don't believe that that's exactly what Jesus was saying, to be honest. Why? Because I believe Jesus knew he was going to die. So why would he say, my Father, why have you forsaken me, if he knew and prayed about it? You see what I'm saying? So to me, the meaning is sort of half-baked. Okay. So moving on to the next slide. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain, from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent. So immediately Jesus gave up his ghost. The veil was torn in half, and the earth did quake, meaning the earth again, which must have been torn out of its plates or something, I don't know, from its should I say firmament. It shook, the earth shook, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose. Now, in these two verses that I've read, 51 and 52, there are very important events happening. And even in 50, Jesus dies, okay? And then the veil tears, and then the earth shakes, almost from its firmament, it shakes about, and then the ground splits open. So two things have been split open: the veil and the ground, so that dead bodies would come out. There was a resurrection anointing that was there that day when Jesus died. I mean, and right there you can see the curtain being torn in half. So, and then we move on to verse 53. And came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared unto many. Now when the centurion and they that were with him, watching Jesus, saw the earthquake, and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, truly this was the Son of God. Okay. Now the centurion believes because of what he saw happen with the grave, with the earth, with the curtains. I mean, everything was just going, was being popped out of its, base. So when Jesus had received the sour wine, now this is now moving on to John 19:29. When Jesus had received the sour wine, he said, "It is finished," and bowed his head. He yielded up his spirit. The word translated is tetelestai, meaning it is paid in full. Okay, so now Jesus says it is finished. He's finished paying up for something. This is not necessarily a new concept with Christians, the concept of Jesus having paid for our sins. And in Greek, the word is agorazo, and in Ekegusii, the word is gora, to buy. It's the same thing. So, now we move on to our first category, and the first category that we're going to discuss is ELI, ELI or El, or ELI. Now we're going to have cognates for the word El, and what's that Hebrew? What is the meaning of El? Because for you to be able to find out what the full sentence meant or what Jesus was referring to, you would have to find what the meaning of El or Eli is. Okay, so El/Eli, okay, is Hebrew for God, a bull, a champion, a leader, a chief, a winner, a conqueror. Now in Ekegusii, the word for a bull is Eri, and Eri is also the name used for leaders, for God, for a bull, for a champion, for a leader, for a winner, for a conqueror. It's the same as Hebrew. Only Ekegusii does not have the letter L. Now, another version. Now, El means God in Hebrew, right? So, or a champion or a leader. Now, another version of how you can use El is to use it in reference to expressing motion or pointing towards something. Now, El in Hebrew expresses motion towards something, someone, into, besides, or in reference to something. And that I got from Abarim publications. Now, Ele, E-L-E-H, means these, okay, in Hebrew, derived from the word El as well. And then in Ekegusii, Ere, derived from the word Eri, means him or her, okay? So, El in Hebrew and Ekegusii is used to reference to something or show something moving or point towards something. Why is this so? Because El, anything that exists or has a name, and this is African social construct. In African social construct, we believe that everything that has a name has a spirit, okay? And by that right, the Hebrews believe the same thing, meaning that everything that has a name or exists has the essence of Yah in it. Only Yah has copyright to, humans, to blood, to soil, to clay, anything that you can think of. It's Yah's copyright, He's the only one who has the blueprint for these materials. That's why anything inanimate or a person is referred to as Ere or Eri, meaning that which has the essence of God in it. Now, okay, so moving on. Now, remember when Jesus, in the verse, that's 9. Now, when we go back to Matthew 27, 49 to 54, now I want to say in verse 51, in Matthew 27, 51, as Jesus was about to die, and they say, and I'll read it again, it says, and about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, and that is to say, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the men, which is in 51, that stood there when they heard that, say that this man called us for Elias or Eliyahu, right? Or Elijah. Now, the reason why many of the bystanders out there thought that he was calling for Elijah is very simple. I'm going to show you that just now in 1 minute. So the real reason why people thought that God was calling out for Elijah or Eliyahu when he was about to give up the ghost was because, and it's very simple. And it's very simple if you understand the Hebrew language, if you understand Bantu African languages. And it's not only Bantu, I've seen that with the Nilotes, and I've seen that with some Cushites when they use El in reference to something. Now, see the word eri or area, see that area, when you say area, it means that over there, and it's usually in reference to something inanimate, also used to motion towards something disappearing. When you say oria, it means that that's a person, it's a human being, personified in that sense, and it's disappearing, you know, into the horizon. Oria means that you're referring to a being that's actually disappearing into the horizon. Now, Eria in Ekegusii also refers to, you know, when you're pointing to something in motion. So Eria not only refers to something disappearing, but it also points to just something that's maybe over there yonder, you know, just over there. Area. See that? Now, I argue that the name Elia is derived from Ekegusii. Why? Because Elijah attained his name. I believe that Elijah's name not only means Yahweh is my God or belonging to Yahweh, it also means he who disappears into the horizon. Elijah is prolific for, you know, conquering laws of gravity and flight. One, when he ran ahead of Ahab's chariot together with Jezebel, and the second time was when he was being translated into heaven, because him and Enoch are the only prophets that didn't die. Okay, so now if you pig Latinize the name Eria, and this is the mystery of Bantu languages, if you pig Latinize the word Eria, it becomes Ye'eri. Do you see that? Ye'eri means, so Eria, Ye'eri, meaning that which belongs to God, or that which belongs to the champion, that which belongs to the mighty one, that which belongs to the chief, you know. So in that sense then, Eria, meaning that which has the essence of ElOI, so one, it means that which has the essence of God, or one who belongs to El. You see that? So that's why you use it to motion to Eria. But Eria also means that which has the essence of God in it. So the name Elia means Yahweh is my father, Yahweh is God in Hebrew. In Ekegusii, the name Elia would mean that which belongs to the El, or Eri, the bull. So, and this is the mystery of some of these Bantu words. If you pig Latinize them, they still produce the same meanings. Okay, so if you say Ye'eri, meaning Elijah belonged to the mighty one. That's exactly what his name means. Okay, so then, if in Eria, if in Ekegusii, Eri or Elia means that which disappears into motion, or that which has the essence of God. In Xhosa, again now, in Xhosa, since Xhosa have El, Ekegusii will say Eria. Xhosa have El is the exact meaning. Elia means to go, or goes. Okay. Now, the feminine version of the name Elijah, of course, is Aliyah. Okay, that which is exalted. Again, now in Ekegusii, Aliyah is Arya. When you point into the sky, you say Arya up there. So it again, that's where the name Aliyah is derived from, meaning that which is exalted. Although bear in mind that you can use, the 3 dimensions. You can say Arya, Arya, or Arya down, right? Now, we do see the same property of how to use the letter L in the Spanish language. So in the Spanish language, it's used to refer to he or him. In the it's the same as Hebrew, L, right? And then L is also used to refer to it in Spanish, things or an animal. And then Ella is a feminine version of L. Okay? And there's there's a restaurant I used to like going to in North Minneapolis called El Barrito Cubano. So I mean, when you see how different languages use L, then it brings home the meaning, at least the first part now, of the meaning of why Jesus was saying Eli Eli, and they were saying, is he calling Eliah? Who is he calling? They couldn't quite understand what he was saying. But remember also, Jesus was dying. He was going in and out of consciousness. I do believe that there's an important message that God or Jesus at that time was invoking when he said those words. But we'll find out what those words really mean. Okay, now I'm going to show you variations of the word Eli in other different languages. The reason why I'm doing this is because, like I said, the Hebrew language has 7 different meanings, and in that sense, you should understand that it should have about 12 different pronunciations. There was 12 tribes in Israel, right? They didn't all have the same accent. Now, understand that in African languages, and not even many African languages, especially the Bantu, where you have the name El, you will have the concept of light, of apportionment, of God, a bull, a champion. Now, why do I say that? Now, like in the Bible, in James 1:17, it says, every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Now, so then you will find in African languages that El is a name that will not only represent goodness, every good and perfect gift, goodness, perfection, light. Okay? Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and cometh down from the Father of lights. Now, I'm going to show you a true example, okay? Now, look at the Zulu word, Elile. Elile in Zulu means good, beauticious, that which has the goodness of God, okay? So even the concept of being beautiful, it still has the essence of God in it, El, okay? Now, Zulu, you have Aliko. When you say Aliko, it means he is here. See, the concept of El Aliko, see? So the notion of referring to a person again, just like I earlier discussed. Then you have Sotu, Elini. Elini is a combination really of, El and Hagen, and in Sotu, Elini means light, which then in essence would mean light of God, that which illuminates, that is of God, Elini. Now, in English, English, it means a light, a torch, bright, and kite. And see, it's not even only in African language, but it's predominantly in African language that I've seen this, although European did borrow a lot from the Hebrew language as well. And El in Greek means light, a torch, or bright. While in El in Hebrew means this. Remember what I told you? In Ekegusii, Ere means them, Himuha. Now, the reason why I speak about Elini is because Elini is important, because if many people around Jesus were hearing their own versions of what El could be, Elini in the sense means moonlight. I'm sorry, I said light, but it means moonlight. So in that sense, or the moon. Now in that sense, Elini as the moon is actually El and the Kayin, meaning light of God. You see how the moon, the word for moon was produced in Xhosa. Now, remember that, as I was saying, remember that as you read the Bible, remember to form images in your head. Why is Elini or the moon important at this point? Remember that the Bible says that it got dark at the 6th hour. Okay? So was Jesus, as he was dying, talking about the light? Was he saying, light? Light, Elini? Oh my God? You see what I'm saying? Or did Jesus, in essence, see a light? You know, it's really confusing. Now, in Sotho, again, when you have, now, remember the verse again, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. That is why in Sotho, Elinyigama, the word Elinyigama means called by his name, Elini. Elini, and then Gama, called by his name. Okay, so Eli in Xhosa means this, just like Ekegusii, just like Hebrew. And Eli in Xhosa, just like Ekegusii, just like Hebrew, means that which goes, that which disappears. Okay, moving on. We have to discuss what ELOI means. Because there is another version in the book of Mark 15:34 that talks about ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI. Now, how is it that one author had ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI and another author had ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI? Well, others that were around Jesus there had Elia. You see what I'm saying? Because the word El is usually used, you know, as a prefix in combination with other words. So that's why everyone was hearing their own version. The people around had Jesus calling for Elijah. The other one said, "Why have you forsaken me, my God?" The other ones were saying, you know. Now, remember that in Ekegusii, okay, in Hebrew, first of all, you know, the Bible says that, you know, he's the beginning and the end. God is the beginning and the end. Now, in Ekegusii, and I believe this is how it was, just like the Hebrew, first letter would be El, okay? El is always the beginning, okay? It's the first letter, meaning, you know, the strong one, the bold. Now, remember that if God, now, from this consonants, E-L or E-R, you have the name Eli, God, the beginning, you know, the prominent one, you know, the leader, the chief, the king. Now, if you use the same consonants, E-R or E-L, and put E-L-A at the end, or E-R-N, era, it becomes what? The end. So, out of the consonants that make El, you have the end as well in Ekegusii. So, it's the beginning and it's the end. So, that first alphabet is the beginning, but it's also the end in that sense. So, now, I believe that when Jesus was speaking and he said Eli Eli, and the author Mark had ELOI ELOI, would be in reference. Jesus was invoking God, who is a certain property, who has a certain characteristic. So if he says ELOI to me, I feel like ELOI means God, you who is the end, you who is the author and finisher of my faith. ELOI, you who is my end, you who decides my end. Why? In Ekegusii, we don't have ELOI as such, but we have Erio. Now, meaning that the I and the O will interchange. Now, so that when you come and you're saying it's the end, you say more Erio, que Erio. So, and to end, you know, is era, just like I said. And even in English, era, you know, denotes a point in time, you know, past, based on how historical events played out in comparison with latter years, okay? So just because, you know, somebody talks about an era doesn't mean that life comes to an end because it's the end of a certain era. It's always in comparison to the following years after that, right? Why? Because God is the beginning, it is the end. He's an era. You see what I'm saying? But then he's the start of an era and he's the end of an era in that sense. so I do believe that when Jesus was calling ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI, or what Mark heard, I do believe that he was invoking the power of God, who is able to take life and give life in that sense. So when he says ELOI ELOI in Ekegusii, will be ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI. But I will explain that some more later. So for me, ELOI just means the end, the end. It's the end. But remember also in the verses that I've read that he had talked about saying it is finished. It is finished. Could Jesus have been referring or invoking that God who finishes? Maybe he was in so much pain that he was ready to die. That's why he invoked God who's the end. Now, I do have another variation of the word ELOI, which I feel is very comparable to the Yoruba word ELONI. ELONI means how much. So, see even the difference. ELONI, ELOI. Now, sometimes with cognates that happens. When you have two cognate words sometimes, in one culture, they might lose a letter or gain a letter. Now, if one language is low, in Yoruba, I feel it's ELONI. ELONI means how much. Now, somebody might stand there and ask me, okay, well, what does how much have to do with Jesus' death? Now, remember, when Jesus died, the last words he ever said was, it is paid in full. It's finished, okay? Now, as I do believe that if we're using the Yoruba worldview, that Jesus was actually invoking on God, who is his portion. Now, how much is a portion, right? How much? In the sense that the Bible says that the Lord is my portion in the land of the living. And this is why you will find El in Yoruba language when it comes to Eloni, because the essence of God is even put in their portion. Now, what does apportionment have to do with Jesus' death? Everything. Was Jesus invoking God? Was Jesus invoking the God who is his portion in the land of the living? Was he invoking on that God, Eloni? Like, how much do I have to suffer? How much more do I have to suffer? You know, that could be possible, merely because Jesus was in pain and he was dying. And I do feel that Eloni actually would be pretty close to Eloi or Elio in that sense, because he's saying how much more. So he's invoking that God who is portion in the land of the living. But remember that Jesus was dying in the land of the living. So in every sense, the concept of Eloni to me makes sense. Now, I will discuss a different version of ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI, and I found this on YouTube. It's by Vilambi, and I do think that it's highly credible. Why? You know, because he explains himself at length, and I love how he explains himself. Now, again, the TAMIl language, I think he's the same person who did. TAMIl language has been found to have roots in African language, especially in Cameroon. And that's interesting. So, Vilambi argues that Jesus spoke in Tamil. Could it be possible? Yeah, why not? So, anyway, his version is that, ELOI ELOI LAMA SABACHTHANI, meaning, oh God, oh my Lama. Lama being a religious leader or, death, give me you. You see that? That's the translation he gives, and he's saying based on ancient languages, the meaning will be, oh my God, my God, my God, you have given me death. Okay, and even in Christian versions, I do believe that that Jesus was given the task of conquering death. So I can see it makes a lot of sense that you would say that, my God, death you have given me. However, I don't agree with him that Jesus was, Jesus was Buddhist because he called on God as Lama. Swahili use Lama, the Tibetans use Lama. I mean, Lama is used everywhere. Even Muslims use Lama. So you can find that in different pockets of the world. So I don't believe that by that one word that Jesus was Buddhist. No. Okay, so he explains that in the TAMIl. Okay, so in TAMIl, he uses the first part, which has to do with Eli, Eli. In TAMIl, God is called Eli, but he also tends to refer to Elalan in that, who, Invoking God tends to refer to Elalan also, who is the one who wrote about the goddess of boundaries. The name is also ELI, which sounds so close to ELOI, right? Okay, so, so Vilambi argues, my God, my end, death you have given me. Okay, from what we've derived so far, using the TAMIl, XHOSA, Zulu, Ekegusii, using the languages that we just talked about, when you come to the concept of ELI, remember Jesus, for me, I feel ELI or ELOI means it's the end. It is finished. It is the end. Okay? And I do believe it could have been an invocation by Jesus of the name of Yahweh, who is Eli, or El, who is not only the beginning, but also the end. So, Elio was probably an exaltation of God as the end by Jesus, as a plea for God to take his ghost. So I believe that when Jesus is saying it's the end, Elio, he was saying, God, take me already. It's the end. I can feel my consciousness leaving me. So, and it was probably an affirmation that he was getting disconnected from his life on earth. And I do believe that that's what was happening, because the Hebrew language is very symbolic, just like many African languages. Now, hey guys, I'm back again. So we're going to do part 2, and part 2 has to do with, of course, Eli, Eli, and you have Lama, okay? Lama or Lama Sabachthani, right? Now, Lama in Hebrew means why. That's why they say, my God, why have you forsaken me? Now, in Swahili, however, the word Lema means to stand out in strength or mightiness, durability, stability, or strength. Just to stand out, one who stands out, okay? Now, Shalem, and for that time we're using the suffix lem, meaning complete or wholeness, right? Now, in Ekegusii, remember, we don't have an L, okay? So it's remu or lemu, okay? It means strong, it means comfort, it means endurance, it means stable, it means to persevere, okay? Now, when you come to the name Jerusalem, if we have remu means strength, comfort, endurance, stable, perseverance, you have Jerusalemu, Jerusalema. So, Jerusalemu in Hebrew would mean the abode of peace or comfort, exactly like Ekegusii. Exactly. Don't let anybody ever convince you that the African language and the Hebrew language are totally different languages. They're not. I do believe the Hebrew language is an African language. And I do believe that there are particles of tribes that can contribute towards the Hebrew language. I do believe that it was a lingua franca at one point in Africa. I do believe it. Otherwise, how did Jake and Abraham communicate? You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, we're still covering Lema, and we're still covering Lama and Lema. Now, in Swahili, the word alim, okay, derived from, of course, alif, alifu being the first letter of the Swahili Arabic alphabet. Now, alim in Swahili means, or ali, is a title of God, one who is highly learned, knowledgeable, a leader in that sense. Now, in Swahili again, ulama or mlama is an expert or a scholar, okay, or a specialist. Somebody who specializes in something is called mlama. So I do believe that another word for a teacher could be mlama. If you see your teacher as a lama, mlama as a scholar or as a specialist, then he is a lama in that sense. Now using Swahili, I'm going to show you what King Solomon's name meant without a doubt, because the name Lemuel, you know, the Lemuel or Lemuel in the book of Proverbs 31. Now, the name Lemuel means devotee of God, okay? Devotee of God or belonging to God. That's what I believe the name Lama means in Hebrew. Now, but I do believe that just because the name is, just because, you know, the Western language says devotee, Lama means devotee, Lemuel means devotee of God. What does that mean to me, who's not of Indo-European descent? I can't really connect with the Bible in that sense. But if you use Bantu languages, like I always say, if in Swahili the word ulama is a scholar, guys, Lemuel is a devotee. Who's a devotee? A devotee is somebody who is highly or immensely or profoundly dedicated to a religion or a religious leader, okay, with extreme loyalty, okay. Now my mother tongue pops its head, you know, the R and the L. Extreme loyalty towards a certain cause or a belief, okay. Now, remember that in Proverbs 31, where King Solomon is actually addressed as Lemuel, is that he was going through a class with his mother, and not Western class as we think about. It's informal education. Means that in essence he was his mother's protege at that time, because she says, listen Lemuel, listen this. Okay, so now if you look in Proverbs 31, his mother's really telling him about what the qualities of a good woman are. Now he's being edified by his mother about the qualities of a good woman. So he's going through class as we know it as Africans, okay? But if you use a white consciousness, you won't quite get the whole holistic meaning of what a devotee means, okay? So even Swahili, ulama is a scholar, and here you have Lemuel going through education with his mother, and he's actually referred to as Lemuel at this point. Remember, Lemu, Lama, education, and El is God. So meaning, Lemuel means scholar of God or devotee of God. But for me as an African, the concept of being an apprentice makes sense, an apprentice of God or a scholar of God. And remember also, Solomon's name meant wisdom or education in that sense, okay? That is why Lemuel then would mean devotee, but in terms of being a student, of being a devotee with utmost loyalty. Okay, so then in Ekegusii, Lemu or Remu is of course strong, comfort, peace, to stand out. Now Remu or strong, you know, being that if you perceive it as strong or one that stands out, Remu, that's the one Ekegusii, and Eri is God. So Remu Eri is the transliteration in Ekegusii. Remu Eri, it doesn't really change apart from the R. Okay, meaning God is my ruler, God is my comfort. Okay, God is my strength. Okay, and then you have Aremu. In Yoruba means firstborn. Do you see that? The concept of strength, to stand out, Lama, Lemu, Lemuel. And that's why even in Tibet, the Dalai Lama is called the Lama. Why? Because he is the most educated there. He's the leader. He's the most knowledgeable. That's why people go to him for consultation, the monks. The monks learn through him because he's considered the most illuminated in that sense. Now, that's why I don't believe that the meaning Lama, Eli, Eli, Lama means why. Primarily, I feel that it would be reductionist to say that it merely means Lama. Why? Because the Hebrew language is very symbolic in very high context. So, if Jesus is calling for God, my Lama, Eli, Eli, Lama, it means that Jesus is actually affirming that I am your devotee. Come what may, I am dying for this cause. So there's so many ways you can start to morph this language, the Bantu. This is the mystery of Bantu languages, okay? Now, if you use the first line of Jesus, if you use the first line, Eli, Eli, Lama. Now, let's use Eli, Eli, Lama. Okay? Now, let's use Eli to mean God. But if you do Eli, Eli, Lama or Elama, Elama is a cognate in Swahili for Elimo, meaning education. Okay? Now, so that when you take Lemuel's name, remember how I told you about the mystery of Bantu languages? If you take Lemuel and turn it the other way, Elama, it becomes Elama, Elimo, Swahili. You see, again, education, the concept of education. And that's the mystery of these Bantu languages. Sometimes even when you Latinize them, you produce the same meaning, but it may appear as a different word. So, Elemu, Elemo, Swahili, education. Remember that Lemuel means devotee, one who's going through an education, one who's going through an apprenticeship. And now, in this sense, if you use the word, if you use the Tamil interpretation when it says, Lama may actually refer to the goddess of boundaries. Yes, I believe that too. You know why? Because remember, in Swahili, education is Lama. Now, in Swahili, to make a mark is Alama. Okay? Still, it has to do with the concept of education, of being knowledgeable. Okay? Now, if you look at Elama or Elelan, the goddess of boundaries in Tamil, remember that when you have to make a boundary, you have to be very equipped with the concept of math and markings. Alama, again, Swahili, a marking is alama. That's why to me, I do feel that Elalan makes a lot of sense, or Elahi, the God of boundaries in that sense. The Lord who marks the beginning of my life and the end of my life. So God as the beginning and the end, Alpha and Omega, He is He who marks the boundaries. You see that? That's why I do believe the Tamil language is exceptionally right in this sense. When it comes to the concept of Remia and Remu, remember that I do put the concept of lameness together with the concept of lemu. Remember, like I said, Swahili Lema is to stand up, but Lema is to be lame. Why? Because ancient language sometimes would give meanings based on verbs or diametrical opposites. Now, look at the Hebrew language, the word lamed. The word lamed is a letter represented by a walking stick. Okay, but this walking stick in essence is a representation of becoming strong, almighty. It's so weird. So while a walking stick would be associated with lameness, it actually represents strength. You see that? So meanings are given in diametrical opposites, but also, for example, in the Ekegusii language, when somebody became an eri or an eli, what were you given? You'd be given a nyimbo, a walking stick, a staff that would show that you were a leader. By that sense, then you would gain authority, meaning strength, strength, authority, power. Now, in this sense, so when I say that, when I bring on the word remia, or remia means to switch off or to put out, or lameness, the reason why I do bring out these words as diametrical opposites of lameness. So when I bring the idea of a walking stick or lameness or to dim out, the idea is, remember that as Jesus was dying and calling on God, my Lema, is because I do feel that he was weakening. He was lacking in spirit, you see. So the word Lama, or Rama, I do feel is Remia or Lemia. You see, he was becoming lame. He was becoming weak in that sense. That's why he called on God, my Lama. You was my strength when I'm weak. So, okay. We're still carrying Lama and Lema, and I'm going to give you an expansive, derivation, just so you understand. So we don't have any mistakes by the time we get to Lama Sabachthani. And the whole sentence, you can have an idea of what Jesus was saying, because there's so many meanings attached to these simple lines. Okay, so now if you look at the name Absolo, okay, and the suffix abs, now the suffix alone, okay, Absalom. To me, they say that Absalom and Solomon have the same kind of names, meaning peace, okay, father of peace. Now, Absalom, the same means father of peace, and Solomon means peace, okay. I believe the derivations are right. They both have the same names. Solomon and Absalom have the same names. They were brothers. Remember, Absalom wanted to topple his dad and went ahead and staged a coup that, you know, backfired. It was aborted, and it didn't really work. What happened? Absalom ended up dying, paying for his sins, trying to topple his dad and sleeping with his dad's wife. Now, if the name Absalom means peace, it means peace. Now, if the concept of Absalom refers to peace, you know, the suffix is alom, lem, lam. They all mean peace, comfort, strength. It always has to do with that, and you'll find that suffix also in the name Jerusalem. Okay, but however, Western scholars, being that the English language is a denotative language, not as symbolic as African or Hebrew languages, I don't feel that Absalom's name merely means peace. That's not it, but it implicitly means peace in that sense. They have the same name as, you know, he has the same name as Solomon, but Absalom's name doesn't carry the glory Solomon carries. Why? Because of the story. Okay, so Absalom, remember, was known to be very good looking, very handsome man, was he not? He's known to be highly good looking. He had such long hair that he had to cut it every year. Okay, he was known for his beauty, his strength, his agility. He was a good warrior, and basically some people thought, like Ahithophel, that he should have been the firstborn. Why? Because, like I said, you know, the name Lema in Swahili means to stand out, to be strong, you know, to stand out, to be strong, to be durable. It's basically a quality that is best above all others, okay? And that's the name that they used to give to firstborns. So when you see Solomon as a nominated firstborn, so to speak, his name meant, you know, peace, but it also meant the landed one, right? But while Absalom refers to the concept of being a firstborn and standing out in peace, remember that Absalom did not bring peace to his father. Absalom did not bring peace by disgrace. So the real meaning of Absalom's name should be, merely because they put the concept of Ab and Salom. Okay, so it's Ab and Shalom, you know, father of peace. I can see why it means father of peace, but I do feel that the connotative meaning of Absalom actually means he who will disturb his father's peace. I'm telling you, that's what I feel. Why? Because African language sometimes will give, African languages and Afro-Asiatic languages will give somebody a name based on the diametrical opposite or the connotative meaning behind the name. While Absalom, who was the first one, should have been his father's peace, he really wasn't, remember? However, from the root word, the suffix lem, lam, lema, he does stand out. In looks and quality, he's the firstborn. Now, in Nigeria, firstborn is also called aremu. Why? Because they're the ones who stand out. Alemu, alem. It's where the name Jerusalem also comes out from. Okay? Now, in Swahili, the word lema with double A would mean disability or lameness. And in English, you have the name lame, disabled. Okay? The diametrical opposite of lema in Swahili is lema. See that? Opposite of not being lame is lema. You see? Now, rema in Ekegusii would also mean disability. And rama would mean to beguile, to deceive, to mislead, throw or shoot. Why did I put rama? I put rama there because of the concept of phonetic variation accents. And sometimes, I've also seen this in Hebrew, they'll give two words with an R, maybe an L, two different spellings but similar meaning. Why? Because also they don't accommodate accents because the English language is so denotative. So they'll try to listen to how somebody pronounces and create that as a totally different word. You see what I'm saying? So okay, so then you have Rama Ekegusii, meaning to insult. We don't have El. Rama in Hebrew means lofty, exalted, thunder, glory, statues. Now, why do I say that? You see how Rama means lofty, exalted, thunder, and glory? Lama could mean lofty if it stands out from the others. Lama. You see, Lama could also mean exalted. If it stands out, it could mean a glory. That's why Solomon was given that name as well. And Remia would be to slacken or to deceit. And Remia would mean to switch off or put out, which would be Lemia or Lama. You see, from the root word lem. Okay? Now, if you look at the meanings of Lama and Lema, they mean to stand out, they mean strength, they mean comfort, it means peace, it means a leader, it means a firstborn. Now, why would Jesus be... Now, ask yourself, why would Jesus be calling on... Because for me, I don't believe that Lama means why. Okay, so even as I studied out and say Eli Eli Lama, I don't believe that Jesus was referring to the idea of why. I think Lama in this sense meant something else. Now, if you say Eli Eli Lama, Lama would mean then, my God, you who is my comfort. My God, you who is my strength. My God, you who is my peace. You who stands out above others. Lama. That's why I do believe that some of the translations are pretty loose in their derivations, and I guess it has to do with the idea of, Western thought. African and Afro-Asiatic thought is so different, even in how we connotatively and denotatively give names. Okay? Now, we move on to the last part. The last part will be Sabachthani. Okay, so I'll divide it into 3 portions, but let's first talk about those that seem similar, words that seem similar to Sabachthani. Now, we have Sabach, S-A-B-A-Q, in Aramaic. It means to allow, to permit, to forgive, or to forsake. Okay? Sabachthani, of course, in Aramaic means to abandon. Now, I do believe that Sabachthani is a combination of 3 words, Saba, Baka, Tan. Okay? Usually Saba in many Bantu languages would mean place of a certain people, or it means a number 7. But usually 7 is a number that was used, like in conversation, to allude to the expanse of something, the greatness of it, if it's a cyclic event. For example, in Tamil, Saba means death. See that? It's a cycle. It's life cycle. Now, like I say, Sabachthani means, just like Aramaic, means to abandon or forsake. Now, Saba in Hebrew, of course, is the number 7. It means completion, a full cycle, punishment, judgment, place of a people. Okay? Now, Saba, of course, means 7 in Swahili. Saba in Tamil means death. Of course. Why? Because 7 is a number of completion, and 7 usually refers to concepts of expanse, of greatness, of completion, repentance. 7 is definitely a number of a wholeness, beginning and end. Okay. Now you have the word Shabach or Sabach. Now, the word Shabach in Hebrew, and the reason why I say this, even though somebody might argue that they're 2 different words, Sabach and Shabach, I do argue that they may have a connotative relationship in that sense. Why? Because I do feel that it might be a cognate, and it's the agglutination creates a whole new word. That's what I based on my research. So Shabbat in Hebrew means to praise, loud, triumph, to soothe, to commend, boast or glory, right? Now, if Shabbat in Hebrew means that, in Ekegusii, baka, we don't have the sha, we just have the baka. Okay, of course we end with a vowel. Baka in Ekegusii means to praise, to loud, to give a name, to boast. Then you have the word saboka. Now, saboka to me, I do feel the cognate of the word sabak. Sabachthani, sabak. Saboka in Ekegusii means to bad out, to peel out, or bust out. Okay. Now, how is this relevant to Jesus' death? If how is it relevant? Those are questions I always ask myself. Now, if you look at the word Sabbath, yes, Sabbath has everything to do with the concept of completion, a full cycle of punishment, of judgment. Right? Jesus was the one that Jesus was dying and he was going through punishment. Sabbath again. See that? Now, with the concept of Sabachthani, of course, you have the first part, Sabbath, which means completion, a full cycle, of which the same events were happening to Jesus. He was being punished, there was a judgment, and it was a cycle of life. Death is the cycle of life. Now, then you have Baka, of course. Baka in Ekegusii means to praise loud, give a name of praise, or nickname. Okay? Shabbat means to praise the loud, to triumph, to soothe, to command, to boast, to glory. Now, saboka means to bud out, to peel out, to spread out. Okay? Saboka, like a bud, as a bad, word, saboka, or to peel. Now, if you look through the events that were happening with Jesus, okay, and the word boka, now, saboka in Ekegusii is to be, saboka in Ekegusii is to bud out, to peel out, to burst out, okay? But woka by itself means to awaken, as from asleep or as from the dead. Now, did those things happen with Jesus' death? Yes, people were raised from the dead. And the ground was rent open, so was a veil, right? Now, in Hebrew, of which I believe is still is a cognate of the word B-A-C-K, bak, you have bekher. I'm sorry, my computer. You have the word bekher in Hebrew, means to burst open, divide, to triumph, to break, to cleave open, to push through, cut to pieces, break into, rip open, break up, tear. Now, if you look at the death of Jesus and its events, did the earth move? Was it shaken from its firmament? Yeah, by every means. Did the ground tear and remove dead people? Yeah. Did the veil of the curtain tear? By every means. And did people arise from the dead? Yeah. Woka. Okay. From which the full word was saboka, or sabak. Now, baka in Swahili means to ensnare, to rape, to capture. Okay. Now, what would that have to do with Jesus, the concept of ensnaring and to capture? I do feel that it had everything to do with the spiritual aspect of it. It had to do with the enemy being ensnared or captured. But I'll explain that as I go on. Now, in Ekegusii, you have a variation of the word baka as baga, meaning to divide, to split, to share. Like the Hebrew word beke. In Ekegusii is bag. Now, do you see the ground again? Did it divide and split? Yeah. The curtain, did it divide and split? By every means. Now, and in Swahili, baki means, to be left behind. Okay? A remnant. So, basically, with the word saboka, it means to burst out, to peel out. It has a concept of to awaken. It has a concept of being torn apart. I mean, it merely describes everything that was happening during Jesus' death. Hey, hi guys, I'm back with part 3. Yay! Sabachthani, ELOI ELOI Sabachthani, and I will do the suffix which is tan or Athani. Okay. Now in Ekegusii, the word Athena means to divide, to split or share. Again, see the concept of being divided. Looks like it's been repeated twice from Sabuka and again from Athena. Okay. Then Athena Ekegusii also means, it does refer to the concept of making a judgment. Okay, in Ekegusii, when you say the judge, and this is the translation, if you directly translate it, the judge has cut a case, it means that he's cut between two sides. Because a judge, that's the purpose of a judge, he has to take a side. Of course, the righteous side. So, if a judge Athena's the case on nature, which is to cut two, then he has made a judgment in that sense. So, Athena refers also to the concept of judgment, okay, as of a case. Now, in Hebrew, from the word Athena, which I believe the name Nathan is derived from, it means to give, to apportion, or to ascribe. And in Ekegusii, Athena means to divide, to split, or to share. So the name Nathan is an Ekegusii derivation. Now, and from this, I'll just show you how the name Daniel was formed. The reason why I'm giving you all this is just so you can have a more expansive view of what Jesus meant. Because, you know, African languages are so high contextual, so it's more based on inference. Now, if to cut a case or to judge a case is Athani, to divide, and God is Eri, if you combine them, you get Athena Eri, Adana Eri, Daniel. Do you see that? And that's how the name Daniel was formed. It means God who judges. He Athenas. See that? Athani Eri. Adan Eri. Now, of course, the TH will undergo a phonetic variation, become a D. So it will become Dani Eri. Daniel. Now, and in Hebrew, to judge is din. You see that? Now, we're still on Athena or Athan. Now, I do believe that the name Tan also, and the name Athan, of course, the suffix, sorry, not the name, but the suffix Tan, of course, from here you have various derivations for tribes, so that way, again, like I said, expansive view. Okay, so in Kikuyu, you have the name of God as Wadhani. Wadhani. Okay, from the concept of Tan. Why? Because he is God who is exalted. Okay, that's what it means in Kikuyu. Now, I do believe that the name Wadhani, of which when you remove Mwa becomes Adani, is the same as Adonai, because the T undergoes a variation, becomes a D. So you have Adonai, meaning God my Lord. Okay, now you have Athena. In Ekegusii, Athena means to become enemies, adversaries, to pass each other. So not only is the word, not only is the suffix than used to mean to divide, it also is used to create the names of God, or to show a property of God. And usually whenever you had Adon, Athon, Athan, it has to do with the concept of God who divides. Usually I do believe they gave God this name after a war, I want to say. So Ethan in Hebrew means firm, steady, or flowing. In Ekegusii, Ethania means to exceed or overflow. And how do people say that? You know, I don't understand how people think that Hebrew is a Indo-European language. They have no correlation whatsoever. So, Ithania means to exceed or overflow, to triumph, overtake, overthrow. God who triumphs, meaning it's God who triumphs, Ithania. Although we, Ithania, so I do believe that in Hebrew, then that name does become if you're using it to refer to the essence of God, it means God who triumphs, right? Now, of course, from the concept of STN, you have the name Satan in Hebrew, a foe, an adversary, an enemy, or a divider. Okay, that's what Satan means in Hebrew. A divider, remember? We just talked about division, tan, atani. Okay, then you have tan in Hebrew, T-A-N, meaning a dragon, a dinosaur, or a whale. Okay, now remember in the words Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani, the last word again, like I'd say, the concept of Satan and a divider of four Athena Etani. Remember what I said. Now, the concept of destruction and division, of course, lies with the word Athani and Athan. Now, remember, do you remember the goddess Athena? The goddess Athena is the Greek goddess of war and destruction. Now, look how in Greek, look how in Hebrew, look how in Ekegusii, look how even in Swahili, all these words match up in terms of war and destruction, division and separation. And the word ata in itself is a proto-Bantu root that usually correlates with the concept of cutting. And even in Japanese, katana is a sword. And in Swahili, kata is to cut. So Athena, Athani. That's why I do believe more than forsaken. Or, God, my God, why have you abandoned me? To me, it would be why, to me, the concept of cutting would make sense more than abandoning. So remember that when you abandon somebody, you cut yourselves away from them. So I do see why the translators would have said the concept of abandonment makes sense. Now, so with Athena, you have the concept of God, you have the concept of division, and you have the concept of Satan, Lucifer himself, okay? So we have three derivations from the concept of time. Now, still using tan or dan or dawn in that sense. Being that we discussed what tan means as dividing, it is from here that the name of Apollyon or Abaddon in Hebrew, the demon called Abaddon, who is the destroyer, the name Abaddon, meaning the destroyer or he who brings destruction, is derived from, because it's a combination of the word Abba, of course, Abba meaning father, and Athan, meaning to divide. Again, so Abba Adon, Abba Aton, you see that? Abba Atani. So it just means father of division. Father, it's basically the devil himself. So, now in Ekegusii, if you say Abba Atani, it means those who bring division. The dividers, the destroyers. It's from here that the word Abba Atheni is where the name of Abaddon was derived from. No joke. So, and in Swahili, the word utatani means a situation. You know, utatani is a situation that brings worry, conflict, confusion, or entanglement. And that's why also the devil is called shaitani, in the sense that he's entangled, you know. And now we go to one more, and this is, I do believe this is a cognate that can be used with the concept of tan. In Tagalog, nasaktan, which I do believe is a cognate for sabachthani. I mean, just my head's weird. That's just how I interpret language that way. My head's weird. But I do believe that nasaktan and sabachthani are the same thing. Same word. Now in Tagalog, nasaktan means to hurt. Okay. Again, see, Satan, you know, from the concept of Athani, he who divides, he who brings pain, he who brings division. Now, so then you have, and I put there a slide to compare the two words, sabachthani and nasakthani. I do feel the same word to a certain level. So, nasaktan in Tagalog means hurt. Nasasaktan means hurting. See that? So, to tear one's heart apart, heart nasaktan. So Eli So how about if, and this is just theoretical, if you put there Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani, it would mean, my God, I am hurting. Does it make sense? Yeah, I do believe it makes sense, in the sense that Jesus was dying. He was in pain. It says clearly he was in pain. He was being pierced and poked and prodded. He was in utmost pain. Tagalog root of the word nasaktan suffix bears great similarity with the African Hebrew root verb Athena, utatani, and Satan, an adversary who brings pain. Now, in relation to what we just discussed in terms of Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani, I'm going to combine the meanings of Ekegusii, Ekegusii, Hebrew, Swahili, and TAMIl. So I'm going to show you, in the TAMIl language, of course, and I'm going to show you how they possibly could have been pronounced in Ekegusii. And I do believe that I do have Johnny John. Johnny John does give some meaning of what she thinks Eli Eli Sabachthani means, and I will put it there on the slide so you guys can see. Johnny John is a YouTuber as well. So you have, I do believe that this is how it sounds like. In Ekegusii would be Eri Eri Lama Sabachthani. Okay, meaning, my God, who is my strength, most knowledgeable one, burst forth and divide in two and triumph. This is a combination of the words in Ekegusii. Now, Sabachthani means to burst forth, to peel out. Okay. Now, what could Jesus have been? Now, as Jesus was out there saying Eli Eli or Elia Elia, because some people had him saying Elia, it looks like, because the word Eli in Ekegusii, the word Eli in Ekegusii, like I previously discussed, means God, but it also means to refer to something. Now, could it be possible that as Jesus was dying, as he was dying and going in and out of consciousness, he saw something coming from the skies? I do believe that he might have seen something coming from the skies, and he invoked on that power to tear the ground and shake the earth and tear the veil. Why? Because it seems, not only is he calling God, but it seems like he's referring to something. He's saying Elia, Elia, because some people thought they had him saying Elia. So it's Elia, Elia. And when he's saying Remu, means my strength, my God, burst forth. What was he saying? Now, what was Jesus invoking? What power was Jesus invoking so that he can burst forth and peel out? What do you think that is? To me, I feel that he was invoking all the power of God, or he had seen it coming, that which was coming, and he was saying, Eri, Eri, there it is, there it is. Burst forth and divide. And he burst the ground and shook the earth, and the tombs were rent, and the curtain veil was rent. So Jesus was actually invoking on the power of God to come forth and divide. Now, when we go over to the idea of Erio, Erio now, which is ELOI ELOI LAMA, this is a version 4 mark. When it says ELOI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI, for me will become Erio Erio Remu Sabachthani. Why do I say that? Sabachthani, in that sense. Why? Because, of course, Erio Erio is Jesus invoking on El, God, who is the end, okay? Beginning and end, or end. Now, Remu, of course, means my strength, and Saba means a place of people, and Baka means to praise, to loud, to bring in an expert, and Athani means to divide. Now, I do feel this, Mark's version would mean, my God, who is the end. It is finished, my strength, of course, for Lama or Remu, the beguilement, the misleading, the insults, because Rama, like I say, Ekegusii, Remu or Rama, Remu would mean strength, but Rama means to insult, to beguile. Now, if you look at the Bible in terms of why I feel it could be to beguile, it's because beguilement always happens with colonial thinking. you know, when you take somebody's identity and wash it out, or if the enemy does beguile. Now, what I feel was a beguilement could be the fact that humans lived in sin, they didn't know the truth, and Jesus was truth. So he's invoking on the power of God as the end to end the beguilement, maybe of the colonialism, you know, at that time. So he says, Elio, Elio, Lemo, in the place of the praised ones. Baka in Ekegusii means to praise, to loud. So he's saying, my God, who is the end? In the place of the Yehudas, the Bakas, the praised ones. Divide. Now, in Swahili, the first letter of Swahili is alifu, okay? Alifu, in, you know, in Arabic, I believe is alaf. But in Swahili, the first letter of the alphabet is not A, it's alifu. Now, and from here you derive names of God. You have the word Ali, meaning he who is exalted, he who is praised, most knowledgeable one. So A-A-L-I in Swahili, Ali is somebody who is highly learned, highly exalted in terms of position and power. So now I do believe that this would change in Swahili, and it would be Ali, Ali, Lema. Lema is somebody who stands out, he who is strong, he who is mighty, meaning my God, you're exalted. You who is the strong one, you know, capture the entangler. Okay? Utatan. Capture the entangler. So, and then, so, this is the last slide. Okay, I do have the 4 translations, you know, Eli Eli Lama Sabachthani in Hebrew, then you have ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI in Ekegusii, and then you have ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI in TAMIl, and you have ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI, that's Swahili, and XHOSA, this is by Johnny John, that in my work either, was ELI ELI LAMA SABACHTHANI, meaning this is for the Sabbath keepers. Thank you so much, you guys. It was really fun talking to you guys, and being that I did present these words in 5 languages, please don't forget to give me your opinion on what you think in regards to the proto-prebabel language down below. And I'm going to add all the links that I talked about for Johnny John and Vilambi. He believes Jesus spoke in Tamil. I'll put all the links below. But most of all, don't forget to subscribe. It's been wonderful, guys. I hope we can talk again. Hopefully I have something on next week. Bye.